or that's it? Karen? Oh, okay. Okay. So good evening, everybody. We are, it's Wednesday evening, and we would like to explore who was Yisro. We have this beautiful parsha called Yisro. Inside Yisro is the Aseret Dibros. 1 second, I need to get something with my glasses. 1 second. Sorry about that. Okay, so now, Yisro is this, as we'll see, Yisro really is a very amazing person. And he's so amazing that Kadosh Baruch Hu gives him a whole parsha in the Torah that is named after him. So let's figure out who is Yisro and why did he merit to have a parsha, a whole parsha named after him. So let's go first. First of all, before we even get into the first pasuk of Yisro, and how he came and to join Moshe in the Midbar, let's understand who was to begin with. Going back in the Medrash tells us in Pasha Shemais, when it says Havan Nischak Maloi, right? Which was the equivalent of the Wannsee Commission by the Nazis. Pari had this meeting, and the meeting had 3 other people, were his 3 major advisors. One was Yisro, one was Bilam, and one was Eov. And he says, Havan Nischak Maloi. That's what Pari says. We have to come to the final solution. We can't have the Jews are they proliferated everywhere, but Timolei hearts are some. And not only that they had Goshen, they moved into the regular parts of the Egyptian living quarters, and wherever they went, the Mitzrayim saw Jews. And to the point of, one Medrash says that it would take, if they want to go visit their friend, that they would walk and they'd see at least 50 to 100 Jews, and until they got their way through, and came to a point where they said, they're taking over. Does that sound familiar? Okay. So Pari comes up, Havan Nischak Maloi, right? Because he wants a final solution. Anybody remembers by the Nazis, Yimach Shemam, they had the Wannsee Commission, right? Yitro Yimach Shemai called together all his major generals and major people in all the different places, right? And there they came up with the final solution. So the Havan Nischak Maloi is really the forerunner of the final solution. So what happened? So he turns to Bilam, and Bilam says, you've got to eradicate the Jews. He turns to Yisro, and he says, Pari, how can you do that? Don't you remember what happened to your great-grandfather? The way previous Pari? He captured Sarah, took her to the palace. Do you remember what happened to him? Look how sick he got. Not only him, look what happened to the whole household. If that's what's going to happen to one, because you took one Jew, can you imagine what the Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to bring on you if you do this to the whole nation? You can't do this. It's suicide. And then comes Eov, and Ian is still. Doesn't say a word. He's parav. Okay. So the Medrash goes on and explains that Yisro had to run away from for his life because Pari wanted to kill him. Because really Pari he really wanted to kill the Jews. He wanted somebody to yes him. Yisro wasn't yesing him. Yisro was for truth. And that we'll see later that this is a truth of a trait of Yisro's, that Yisro is very much into truth. So he runs away. Eventually, of course, as we know, Yisro makes it to Midian. Eov, on the other hand, who was Parav, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, listen, you know what the truth is, right? The truth is, you know that this is a final solution. How can you just be quiet, right? And this is where we get, one of the places where we get that silence is equal to agreeing to what is going on. Okay. And Eve, as we know, was afflicted with so many things, and he lost his wife and the original kids. Okay. Anybody who's gone through Eve, it's a very fascinating journey of healing, but Yisro has to come to a lot of major understandings before Kodesh Baruch Hu gives him back what originally he had. And so Yisro ran away. Yisro is a man of truth. Yisro wants one thing. If it's true, it's got to be. If it isn't true, he wants nothing to do with it. And we see this through Yisro's, which Rashi tells us. We know that Yisro had explored literally every type of avodah zarah, every type of foreign worship, and he finally came to the conclusion that there's only one God. There's only HaShem. But that's because he was a truth seeker. Yisro wanted through his life that it should only be true. And we see this also by the incident by his daughters when Moshe came to Midian. And what happened? He says to the daughters, he says, he saved you and you left him by the well? You can't do that. He did such a chesed for you. Bring him home. We have to give him a meal. So this is Yisro. Yisro wants truth. And so Yisro charts his life with truth. Truth is his banner. He goes through life seeking who is the true person, the true entity to worship. He goes through many of the avodah. He goes through absolutely every avodah zarah, and in the end, came to that conclusion. And now that it's coming to that the Yidden are in the Midbar, in the desert, Yisro came to the conclusion the only way to serve Hashem is to join the Jewish people. And so Vayishma Yisro, Yisro hears, and Rashi goes to what did he hear? Ma shmua shama uva. What was this thing that he heard and he came? So it says Kriyas Yamsuf and Mechamas Salmalek. Kriyas Yamsuf, according to the Zera Shimshon, is very understandable. I mean, it was totally miraculous. When you think about just the basic midrashim, there were 12 paths, the sea split, all the waters congealed for Bnei Yisrael to go through their paths. 12 paths. Not only were the 12 paths, there were along the path, and remember this was a few kilometers long. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu provided, there were fountains of water and fruit trees, and especially for the kids, because the kids are going to be hungry, right? The kids are going to be hungry. It's a pretty long walk. HaKadosh Baruch Hu provided. Yisro heard this. Not only that, there's another thing he heard. Remember that Paro was the height of power in the world. He ran away because he ran away from the wickedness of Paro. He ran away because Paro wanted only one thing: falsehood, deceit, do things through magic, which is at best is sleight of hand, which is a type of Ginei B'stas. But as we know from the different midrashim, it was way more. It's really taking the powers of Tumah and manipulating them how you want. Yisro wanted nothing to do with it. And not only that, so when he hears, and also remember, Yisro was part of the government. He understood what Kishuf was. He understood how it was being used. And we know from the different midrashim that the kishuf that was used on the borders of Egypt, no slave was ever allowed to be able to escape. Even if they got to the border, something would happen to them because of the fact that there were all this different kishuf on the different borders of Mitzrayim. So the fact that, first of all, that Bnei Yisrael were able to make it out, he understood, because he had been part of that government, that only a Kodesh Baruch Hu could take them out. But not only did they got to Kriyas Yamsuf. Kriyas Yamsuf wasn't just the paths. Kriyas Yamsuf was this wicked nation finally drowned. As much as we know that when it was discussed here in Yisro, that when he heard the different things that Moshe was telling him by Yichad, Yisro, meaning that Rashi says, like, he became goosebumps because he knew these people. As much as he knew it was the truth, but when people get scared and they're shocked, sometimes they break out in goosebumps. But this was Yisro. He heard the Kriyas Yamsuf. He saw the greatness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in Kriyas Yamsuf. And then came Milchemes Amalek. What was Milchemes Amalek? Here comes a nation, the grandson of Esav. Everybody knew Esav was a Achar b'Chatichya, right? He lives by the sword. Comes Amalek, and Amalek wants to attack them to pull off any sensation or any of the greatness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's taking them out of Mitzrayim. But there's more than that. Let's understand who Amalek is. Where did Amalek get this insane hatred for Bnei Yisrael? I mean, think about it for a minute. I mean, why attack the Jews when they come out of Egypt? It doesn't make sense. They just got out of Egypt. They were slaves for 210 years. I mean, let them go, right? They were slaves. They'd been through such the most horrible tortures. Why do you want to attack them? So let's understand how Amalek got their hatred. Amalek was the son of Eliphaz, but his mother was Timnah. The Medrash tells us Timnah realized that the Bnei Yaakov, the children of Yaakov, are very special people. She wanted very much to become part of the family and to marry into the family. Yaakov Avinu did not want Gerim. He didn't want any converts in the family. And she was so upset. So what did she do? She wanted to get married to some nexus to Yaakov's family. The only closest person that was the nexus was Esav. So, and she didn't even want a regular marriage. She became a pilegesh, right? The concubine. That's how much she wanted to be part of this special family. But as she was raising her family, she kept telling them how much she hates Yaakov and Yaakov's family. And therefore, Amalek grew up with this tremendous hatred because he kept hearing it from his mother. Now, there's a modern day equivalent to this. And what is that? It's the terrorists who raise their kids on this hatred of Bnei Yisrael, of Klal Yisrael. Anybody seen the textbooks or seen excerpts of the textbooks of the Palestinian education system? It's right there about how they hate the Jews. They want to kill the Jews. They make the kids have plays where they're killing Jews. We can understand that insane hatred. So Yisro comes. And Yisro is, and it says, Vayikach Yisro chosin Moshe sipora ishes Moshe. So Yisro not only comes, he brings with him Tzipora, who is the wife of Moshe, after she was sent away. Where was she sent away? She was sent away at the borders of Mitzrayim. When Moshe had been through the experience of the burning bush, and Hashem said he has to go to Mitzrayim. Remember, Moshe was 80 at the time. Okay? As Rav Alon Anavas said, he took him out of retirement so he could be the leader. So Moshe goes back to his father-in-law, and he explains he has to go. And Yisro says he can go, and it takes everybody. They get to the border of Mitzrayim, and Aaron comes to greet them, and Aaron says, "What are you doing, Moshe? It's bad enough we have the slaves that we have now. You bring your wife and your kids, they're going to be slaves. Send them back to Yisro. They'll be safe." So he sends them back. So now Yisro is bringing them back. Now that Bnei Yisrael is safe and they're out and they're camping by Har Sinai, Yisro comes with them. Now, which again is part of his truth. He understands, really, now that they're safe, they belong with Moshe. That's their family. It's wonderful to have your kids around, but you know, you have to know the reality. The reality is they have a family. That's where they should be. And he gets there. Now, let's now go through let's go a little deeper and find out who really Yisro was. And so, both the Zerah Shimshon and the Yalkut Reuveni bring down who Yisro really was. And Yisro was actually a Gilgal. Does anybody know who he was a Gilgal of? Anyone want to take a guess? Anybody? No? Chavalaya, no? Okay. So, he is a Gilgal of Hevel.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, of Cain. He was a Gilgal of Cain, and Moshe was actually a Gilgal of Hevel.
Hevel. Right.
And so what was Yisro doing? This was his tikkun. Because born with Cain and Hevel was a twin who they married. But with Hevel was an extra twin. Sipora was the extra twin. His tikkun was he's now giving back the extra twin to Hevel. So this is
to give Sipora to
Sipora was the extra, right, okay. And not only that, both the Zerah Shimshon and the Yalkut Reuveni bring down that when he says Ani chosencha Yisro, I am your father-in-law Yisro. If you take the first letters of the three words Ani chosencha Yisro, the Aleph, the Ches, and the Yud spells the word Achi, my brother, and that's the hint in the pasuk that this was really that this is Cain coming back to Hevel. And rectifying what he had originally done, because there are midrashim that state that according to the Kavanas Ari, that remember they had a fight. Remember they were arguing. There's different explanations why they were arguing, but one of the midrashim says that they were arguing because of this extra twin, and Hevel killed him because he wanted the extra twin. I mean, Cain killed Hevel for the extra twin. So now, Yisro, who is the Gilgal, is rectifying what he had done, and now gives back the twin to Moshe, who's the Gilgal of Hevel. But we go further, and if you go even further, as we see as he comes in, he listens to everything that Moshe tells him about everything that happened, right? And there's different, that was here. Vayisaper Mashal Choisnai Es Asher Asa Hashem LeParai UleMitzrayim. He tells his father everything about that happened, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did to Parai and to the Mitzrayim. Al Oidos Yisrael, everything to do with Kal Yisrael, Eskola Tala Hashem and Sambader, and all the troubles that they had on the way. And what happens by Yichad Yisrael? Yisrael according to Rashi, breaks down goosebumps because he understood this. He understood who they are, who the Mitzrayim were, and as much as he knew them, he knew all these people, but he broke up because he understood the justice of a Kodesh Baruch Hu. On the other hand, the second explanation of Rashi is anybody who's a ger, you're not allowed to remind someone of their background for at least 10 generations. Okay. And then, of course, Moshe tells them about all the good that was done, the man and the bear and the Torah, and how Asher hitziloi miyad Mitzrayim. Yalkut Reuven says that now, if you know this, hitziloi is in singular form, and that, according to the Yalkut Reuveni, was where Moshe told them how the nace that happened, that when Dustin and Aviram had reported him to Paroi, his neck turned, he was literally on the executioner's block. And Kodesh Baruch Hu made this nace where his neck turned into shayish, into what?
Rubber? Like where it bounced off, the axe bounced off or something?
Right. But it wasn't rubber, it was marble.
Marble.
Right. Okay, so, and Vayomer Yisrael, what does Yisrael answer? Baruch Hashem. He's praising HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the source of all, Baruch meaning the source of all blessing is Hashem, Asher Yitzil Eschem Miyad Mitzrayim Miyad Parai, who saved you from the hand of Mitzrayim and from Parai. And again, why is he enumerating? Because Rashi says, Uma Kasha was a really terrible nation. Melech Kasha, terrible king. He knew these people. He could say that because he knew them from the inside. Amitachas Yad Mitzrayim, from under the hand of Mitzrayim, meaning the the slavery that they were in. What does he say now? Atoyodati, now I know, Ki Godel Hashem Mikol Elokim, that Hashem is really the one who's above any type of other power. Ki badavar asher zodu alehem, because of this, because of what they want to do to you. And
are those exact words out of the Chumash? Ki atayadati?
Yeah, here. It's right here. It's in Pasuk Yud Aleph.
Okay.
So Rashi says there, B'mayim dimul abdam, v'hem nevdu b'mayim. They want to drown them in water, meaning they want to kill the baby boys. Remember, Yisro was there. He was in the inside of this. V'hem nevdu b'mayim, and in the end, HaKadosh Baruch Hu drowned them in water. So, Yisro is able to look at everything from the point of truth. That's what he wants. He wants truth. Nothing more, but then unadulterated truth. No matter how hard it is, that's what he wants. And because of that, and understanding this deep insight of who Mitzrayim was, who Pari was, what does he do in the end? He brings korbanos to say thank you to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Amazing, a man, remember, he was older than Moshe. Moshe here is 80, so you have to imagine that Yisro at minimum had to be, 95? I mean, you're not talking about a youngster here, okay? But he was able to, through his life, to see truth. That's what he went after. But let's go to the next thing. He comes in, he sees Moshe, judging and everything. And he goes to Moshe and he says, what are you doing? There's a far better way that you can bring judgment to the people without you getting exhausted. They're getting exhausted, right? Now, my son Simcha has a very good word here. Let's understand what's going on here. Yisro comes in, and you have to remember, Moshe is the leader. In front of everybody, he's telling them, what you're doing isn't good, right? Any other person would have been really upset. Moshe is the Onav Mikol Adam. He is the quintessential Onav. There was nobody in the history of Klal Yisrael who was an Onav like Moshe Rabbeinu. So he comes in, he's telling me, like, but he didn't mean it in a bad way. He said, like, so again, he's a seeker of truth. He wants what's the best for Klal Yisrael. He wants what's best for his son-in-law. So he tells them, he says, there's a better way to do this, right? And he gives him a very interesting way of how to break down the governance of the Batei Dinim of the Jewish courts, of which we have that structure still today. And this was Yisro's contribution to Klal Yisrael. Again, he wanted what was truth. He did, and if you notice the way he's talking to Moshe, he doesn't mince words. He tells it like it is. Why? Again, he's that truth seeker. He wants just to say the truth. So Yisro, you have to remember, Chos Mishal Kadosh Baruch Hu Emes. The seal of a Kadosh Baruch Hu is truth, and therefore, this is why Yisro merited to have a whole parsha named after him. He was a seeker of truth. He wanted the truth of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. He wanted to be part of the Jewish people, which is the nation of truth, and he wanted to be part of this whole legacy. And so Yisro leaves us with this tremendous legacy of honesty, of bringing justice to Klal Yisrael in the form of the Batei Dinim, his ability to admit when things were not right, his ability to call it like it is. This was Yisro. And we should all be zeicher to follow the path of truth, because Chos Mishal Kadosh Baruch Hu Emes, this is a Kadosh Baruch Hu. A Kadosh Baruch Hu only works with Emes. When a person works with Emes, this leads them to a true path of mitzvah observance, of finding what it is that they're supposed to do in Olam Hazeh, to their tikkun, to their rectification, but also to their tafkid, to what their real purpose is, only through Emes. And we should be zeicher that we should not only follow it, but we should be zeicher for Geula Shlema, and with Chisa Mesim that we could all see Yisro ourselves and to experience who this man of truth really was.
Amen.
Amen. Beautiful.
Can I share a little Torah that I learned about Yitro this year, just this week? That was, it was so fascinating to me. One was that because it's always been a question in my mind how HaShem could name this particular parsha Yitro. So there are two messages. One, Yitro, you change the numbers around, you get yoter, more. He wanted more out of life, right? Isn't that beautiful? Then the other thing with the Vayishma, that when he heard about the splitting of the sea, that when he had the realization that something that was so ruled by the laws of nature could change, that the actual physicality of water itself could change, that he knew internally that he could change his nature in any way. If Hashem could make the water change and do it, that gave him the chizik to know that irregardless of all of this other all this other avodah zarah that he had been through and done, he could change his nature, that it was he could be above nature in the same way that Hashem could change the water, he could change himself.
Oh, beautiful.
That was incredible. Yeah, really beautiful.
That is really beautiful. Wow. Okay. So anyway, I hope everybody has a wonderful evening.
Thank you
And
so much, Frimet.
Thank you.
It was beautiful, mamash. Really
okay, good.
I have
so
a
filled with
question.
yeah, I was
Oh,
just gonna say maybe we should open up for questions. Go ahead.
who has a question?
HaAm Alka.
Oh, Chaimaka Abramson?
Yeah.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm Baruch Hashem. Okay, thank you. This is my question. My husband told me the day something, and it was very disturbing. It was about Yitro before. I don't, but Moshe had agreed with Yitro that I believe his second son would go to Avodah Zarah or something like that.
Okay,
Like
so
in
yes,
Rashi,
yes.
I
This
don't
is,
know
yeah,
exactly
is a
what it
medrash
is,
that
but
says that.
you know about that?
The Zerah Shimshon brings it down also.
Yeah.
It was his oldest son. Um, this was before Matan Torah. This is before.
I don't know. I don't know the details, but I know yeah.
Right. So you have to remember that this is prior to everything. Prior to Matan Torah, it's prior to Moshe being called to be the leader of Klal Yisrael. Remember, he escaped. And Yisro, after 10 years, and he pulled out that sword and realized that, Moshe is obviously somebody special, and that's, gave him Tzipora as a wife. It was a very different time. It was, so out of, and at that point, Yisro was in a different place. Yisro hadn't been through all the different Avodah Zarahs yet, right? So he was still in his exploration and his truth seeking, and that was part of the deal to marry Tzipora. It's a very, very hard medrash to understand. But in one sense, you could understand it because here he had a tremendous amount of appreciation to Yisro for saving him. And it could be maybe at that time, remember, it's before Matan Torah. So maybe he felt at the time that was the right thing to do. We have to be Malabit Moshe also, I mean, Moshe was also older at the time, right? Remember, if you go through the different midrashim, he had a very interesting life, and he had been a king in one of the African countries, right? And very, very interesting. Remember, he got to Yisro, he must have been already in his 70s, right? We're not talking about a youngster here. And you could understand that maybe out of Kokorsa type, he wants to do it. For us to understand, I remember in our day and age, I mean, especially that, this is post-Matan Torah many generations, I mean, we would be horrified if anybody agreed to that. But I think we have to be Malam Tzchus Moshe because under the circumstances and the fact that Yisro had saved him, I think we have to be Malam Tzchus Moshe. Did that answer your question, Chaim Malka? Chaim Malka?
Yes, I said that's my question. That, it seems so like, yeah, how can that be? And how could he agree with, and yeah, so right. There are a lot of things we don't understand. I know
Right.
that. And I remember the first time I read something in Tehillim, it was about smashing the enemy's babies, like smashing babies against the rock. I'm like, what? That's not us. We're like Rachamim and MS and, uh, and anyway, so, there's certain things that I realize in life that I don't understand, and I can't understand it. And if Hashem wants me to understand it, it will help me, But in the meantime, I'm not throwing away the Torah just because I don't, like that one pasuk is very hard for me to hear,
But you know what, Chaim Malka, this is how you know the veracity of Torah. And the different Rabbanim talk about it. That, in all the other religions, they want us to look, picture perfect, right? Everybody is a malach, everybody, right? Okay. But if you notice that through the Torah,
Right,
there are so many things that are written, like the Parsha of Dina, right? Pilegesh Begiva, right? I mean,
yeah,
right? The HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't gloss over it. That's Chai Special HaKadosh Baruch Hu emes. This is how you know the veracity of Torah. So even something like this, also we know the veracity of Torah because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is. It's not. All the other religions, things are covered up, but here there's so much
right,
total emes.
right.
I
Right,
want to,
that's
can I share something about that pasuk that bothers her so much? Because it's bothered me. It's in Psalm 137, and the verbiage, until you really read it properly, it's not that Bnei Israel threw those children or were against the wall, but that the verbiage actually is, remember Hashem, the offspring of Edom will come against Babylon, and they should take the revenge against the daughters of Bavel. So it's not actually it's the Jews wishing the revenge will be taken upon Bavel by Edom. It's
Right.
not them doing it themselves.
Right.
So gave me a little bit of comfort.
Right. Okay. Listen. We're Rahmanim b'nei Rahmanim. This is not. If you the latest picture that was coming out of Gaza, right, of the soldier with this little girl. She's terrified, and he's holding her. Right. Amazing. This is who we are. Rahmanim b'nei Rahmanim. Right. You would think it's the enemy's kid. Well, they don't do anything. Right. Well, no, forget them. But not us. They see a child who's scared. He went to comfort her. This is who we are. Okay, any other questions?
Thank
I
you
was just
very
gonna
much.
First of all, it was incredible, and the whole notion of emet, right, is so beautiful, and that that Yitro was this truth seeker. We know that Hashem is truth, and we know Torah is truth, right? And that Yitro is this truth seeker, and it's Matan Torah in that parsha. So in this parsha, so yes, very beautiful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I have one question. I don't know if that's always been a question for me, is that Moshe's children don't become Leviim. They don't have there's no recognition of what happens to Moshe's children. And I was just wondering if you know
Okay.
anything about that.
Yes,
That
there's
also
a reason
bothered
for
me,
that.
I have to tell you. That also
Yes.
bothered, I always like, what happened to them?
Okay.
Yeah.
No. They are they're part of Klal Yisrael. In fact, Eliezer, according to the Yalkut Ruveni, he was named after Rabbi Eliezer because of different things that Moshe Rabbeinu saw of Rabbi Eliezer in his nevuah. One of the things that there was bedafka, HaKadosh Baruch Hu did not want it, as a lesson to Klal Yisrael, that positions of leadership are not through inheritance. It's through the person has to deserve it. Right? You would think that, okay, so Moshe, like you see this in different places. Okay, so the Rav passes away, his son takes over the shul or the whatever, right? But what the Kodesh Baruch Hu wanted to get through first is a real position in Klal Yisrael is the person has to be worthy of that position. There's no inheritance here. It has to be the person's worthy of the position. And therefore, Moshe's children were not given a position of leadership because only those who really were fully deserving. And Yeshua was the one who was, HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe, he's the one who's fully deserving to take over from Moshe. So this is the lesson we learned from it, is that really a position in Klal Yisrael, it has to be through what a person deserves, not through name or your connection or whatever.
Thank you. There's also a beautiful Torah that I love from this parsha, from that Yitro says, Baruch, blesses Hashem. And here is Yitro, a convert, blessing Hashem. And the place that precedes that, where we see Baruch Hashem, is Eliezer at the well, right? So, and he was also not, he wasn't a Jew, so to speak. So it's just interesting that the first two places that we see Baruch Hashem in the Torah are both from converts, to hopefully give us the lesson of knowing how many righteous others there
Sure.
are.
Oh, good. Very nice. Okay, anybody else want to ask something?
I just like to say that it's very interesting that what we picked up from this beautiful Devar, that like it stirred up all these things in us, like, well, what about this and what about that and what and I appreciate you for your wisdom and your knowledge that you have, and how you have answered our questions as best as you could. Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome, Chaim Malka.
Lila Tov.
Yeah, Chaim Malka, we have to get together.
Yes, we do.
Okay,
We
you'll
do.
tell me when you want to get together.
My Rebbitzin passed away a little more than a week ago.
Oi,
49, 8 years or something. And her three of her sons are my neighbors here on Har Zion. And one child is having Sunday night a wedding, and her granddaughter had a baby boy. The day that night after she was nifter.
wow.
And yeah, and so the bris is tomorrow morning. I'm just like so crazy busy, but we will get together. We will. That's
Okay.
Hashem.
Okay, wonderful.
We have to make a plan.
Okay. Think
Okay.
about it. You know how to get a hold of me, so
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Lila
Welcome.
Tov. All
Lila
to everyone.
Tov. Okay, everybody, Lila Tov. It's always a pleasure being together with you. And
Thank you.
you're welcome, Pamela. Okay, have a wonderful evening, everybody.
Lila Tov.
Shabbat
Thank you so
shalom,
much.
everyone.
Thank you.